Good afternoon. Tough act to follow. I'm not a cartoonist. I am a boring researcher. Good crowd here. And it's interesting that we are doing this talk in the southern end of Mumbai. Probably the parliamentary constituency with the highest literacy, one of the richest, definitely. And if you look back, 3 years ago, we had 2.5 years ago, we had general elections, the lowest voter turnout. Okay. So, I'm assuming this crowd in this room is not part of the people who are absent in the elections. You have taken the effort to come here on a Sunday. You are engaged citizens. So I'm assuming that everybody here votes and everybody here desires to participate in the political process of the country while doing their own jobs as, I guess, being South Bombay, bankers, lawyers, chartered accountants, and of course, in other parts of the country as farmers, traders, etc. So that's the assumption I am starting off with. And what I'm going to do now is to give you a short, very short background of what we do, and then get on to the core part, which is, if you want to be an engaged citizen, if you want to take part in the lawmaking and policy making and get in your word in there, how do you go about doing that? That's what my basic presentation is on. So, first, we started a group called PRS Legislative Research 6 years ago. It's 6 years and 2 months now. Why did we do it? 2 reasons. One, we thought that, or rather we knew that our members of parliament have to take a decision on a very wide range of subjects. So they have to decide what's our education policy, they have to decide what's our foreign policy, they have to figure out how to handle water, they have to do defense. How does any single person understand the nuances of all these subjects? Nobody can. They need solid research support so that they can understand what are the pros and cons of various policies, what are the various data about this, what's the research available here, and then we will have, as citizens, a better thought out, more evidence-based policy coming for us. So that's one part. A second part is, as citizens, we should know what our representatives are doing. We should evaluate them at least once in 5 years when they come for re-election based on what they are doing in parliament, what we have sent them to do in parliament. And today, especially if we read the standard newspapers, there is very little information available about what your representatives are actually doing. So we thought we'll collect the information and we'll put it out so that citizens are empowered to go and talk to their MP. And when the MP comes for re-election or in between, ask the MP, okay, what have you done? Why have you not represented me in case he has not? Or say, okay, shabash, you did a great job, I'll vote for you. But at least the citizens should have information which will empower the citizens to handle the political class. So that was the idea behind. Okay. Now, as citizens, what can one do? The first step, of course, is to understand that politicians are normal human beings. They react to incentives. So, if you send them a message that if you do act in a particular way, we will support you. If you act in a different way, we will not support you, they will get that message. They are also extremely good at one thing, at sensing people, sensing feedback. They understand that, that's their job. That's what they do on a daily basis. And we can use that for our own purposes. Okay. So that's what we first need to understand. And then we need to understand how the incentive mechanisms work. And I'm going to say something which most of us have learned in our NCERT 8s or State Board 8 standard civics books and have forgotten about it. How does our government work? Or how is it supposed to work? How is it designed to work? We have 3 levels of government in our country. There is a local level, which is the municipal corporation or the panchayat in villages. There is a state government and there is the central government. They have very, very distinct and different roles. The local government is supposed to take care of all your local issues, potholes, street lights, no drinking water. That's the job of the municipal corporation. If you're talking about statewide policies and laws being made in the state, go to your MLA. National issues, Lokpal bill, land legislation, go to your MP. So that, if we follow that, they will react to that. And I am repeating this because I, in my daily job, work with a large number of MPs. I've interacted with about 300, 350 of them on a regular, I interact with them on a regular basis, and I know what happens there. Most of the requests MPs get from their constituents is about local problems. So the MP is spending his time or her time sorting out, pani nahi aa raha hai, let's try to fix what's happening there in the constituency. Let me fix the potholes. That also means that the MP is not spending that much time thinking out, how do I plan out an anti-corruption law? How do I deal with this huge issue of land required for industrialization, urbanization, infrastructure, and displacement happening, and how do I resolve these? Which is what the MP is supposed to do. So if we go to the MP for the right thing, then we will get back the right results, and the MP also gets the message that we are bothered about these policies, and therefore will think and spend time and resources on that. Okay, next. If we want to know, if we want to actually engage, how do we do? Obvious one, meet your MP, write to the MP. That's at a simple level. But if we actually want to do at a systemic level, at the parliament level, we can. And that's something we need to know. The Indian Parliament actually is quite open to receiving feedback in a very structured way. We have a system called the Parliamentary Standing Committees. And these committees are organized on lines of ministries and departments. So we have a standing committee for Home Affairs, standing committee for Finance, standing committee for Law and Justice, which is actually looking into the Lokpal bill, standing committee on Rural Development, which is looking at the land acquisition law, standing committee on HRD, which would be looking at education, etc. There are 24 of them. Whenever, these standing committees have three broad roles. Firstly, whenever a law or a bill is being introduced in order to be enacted, most bills are referred to the standing committee. They examine the bills. Second, the committees can decide to examine and see how the government is performing with respect to any particular issue. And third, the committees look at the annual budgets before the budgets are approved by the parliament. During these processes, especially during the lawmaking and while they're evaluating the working of the government, the committees ask for public feedback. Most people don't know this, but they do. And the way they do it is they issue advertisements in newspapers, they announce it on All India Radio. Now, most of us usually glance over that page in newspapers, which is full of tenders, numbers of pages after pages of tenders. In the middle of those tenders, you'll find one advertisement saying the standing committee invites suggestions on something, something, and we don't note that. But they do ask for it. I'll just give you a couple of samples. This was the advertisement which they issued in newspapers saying that if you have any suggestions on the Lokpal bill, please write to us. We will consider that. Lokpal bill being given the background and being what it was, did receive a lot of suggestions. Over 1,000 groups wrote in. What did the standing committees do after that? They selected a representative set. They can't talk to all 1,000 people. So they actually invited a number of wide range of people. 35 groups they have interacted with as of last week when I checked out. They have spent over 30 hours doing that. The attendance in these standing committees is very high. For the Lokpal bill, it has averaged somewhere around 75%. Typically, it averages about 55%. So they are taking in the feedback before making the recommendations. For other issues too, they sometimes ask for suggestions. For example, they have now asked for an ad. They have issued an ad saying, we have implemented the Right to Education bill from the 1st of April 2010. It's a year and a half. There are lots of people, groups working on this area. Please let us know how this particular act is working. The advertisement is still open. So if any of you actually have strong feelings about the Right to Education Bill, please write into this committee, the Committee on HRD at the Ministry. You can give in feedback, and they might even call you, and you will actually have an opportunity to go to Parliament, sit in the committee room, and interact with MPs. So the Parliament does allow these opportunities, and we as citizens should get our voice in here and let them know our views. Of course, the views should be backed with data and facts, otherwise they will not take that into consideration. So this is a very, very good opportunity to interact with the system. Does our job end there? No. If we want results on better governance, better laws, we should also keep an eye out on what our representatives are actually doing in Parliament. Do they attend Parliament? What would be the attendance like? Most people, if I ask most people, typical responses are 25%, 30%, 40%. Actually, on record, that average attendance of MPs is about 75%. But that basically means the MP has gone on 75% of the days, at least once during the day, been there for some time. On average, about 50% of the people are sitting there. But how do we know whether my MP attends Parliament? How do we know whether my MP, when he attends Parliament, takes part in the debates? Does he ask questions in the questionnaire? What does he ask? Does he introduce bill? What does he introduce? How do we even know that? Well, this is a plug. We'll tell you. Go to our website. There is a particular feature called MP track in that. And there is a screenshot. This is what you'll get if you select your MP. I just selected Milind Devra again because we are in his constituency. So actually the screenshot ends. There are some nice bar graphs below the screen, which you can't see, where you can actually, if you go onto the website, you will see Mr. Devra's attendance, the debates he took part in. And if you click there, you'll also know what he spoke. It's connected back so that you know what he actually did in Parliament. So wherever you are, you should be able to find out what your MP actually does in Parliament. And then, when the MP comes back, and remember, being a member of Parliament or a member of Legislative Assembly is in some sense one of the most accountable jobs, unlike a typical government service job where the guy can never be sacked unless he's caught stealing money or something like that. These guys have a 5-year term. You can throw out the person after 5 years. They will come back to you every 5 years saying, please re-elect us. And therefore, they are actually quite amenable to being asked questions, and they are scared of being asked tough questions. So if we want to change the electoral and political conversation in India away from which caste are you, therefore will you vote for me? Are you a Hindu or are you a Muslim, and therefore I am a Hindu or a Muslim, please vote for me too. These are the issues that I stand for. And if you believe in this issue, vote for me. If we want our candidates to ask that, we have to act first. We have to give them the message that if you will vote on issues, if you will take positions on issues in certain way, then we will vote for you. If we pass on that message, they will react to that. And that's incumbent on us to do if we want to change the way our country is governed, which I think is a brilliant opportunity to do because we have, after all, managed to build a fairly robust democracy. We have the power, unlike people in many other countries, to dictate what our policymakers do, and we should use that power. Thank you.